Good afternoon, everyone. Today is Tuesday of the 9th week in Ordinary Time. I just want to continue our conversation on our approaching opening our churches for public Mass. As you know, our churches around the Archdiocese are open for private prayer. Many have exposition of the Blessed Sacrament like we do from 12 to 3. Confessions are heard from 12 noon on, and I usually stay for about an hour. And we have baptisms celebrated with 10 and less, weddings celebrated 10 and less, funerals celebrated 10 and less. But we're moving into now the restrictive phase. Do you know what that means? 50% of the footprint in church. So 50% capacity. So we'll be roping off some pews, leaving some open, roping some pews, leaving some open. So please God, come this weekend, the first weekend of June, yay! We're open in a restricted sense. So, but it's 50% of the footprint of the church, which is a nice section, okay? So we'll tell you, the ushers will give you instruction, and tomorrow's afternoon reflection, I'm going to bring you in church and we're going to do like a tutorial. So I'll give you like a little walkthrough of church. Just want you to be informed. I want to communicate with you as much as I can, because this is a weird time. A weird time for me as a priest, and a weird time for you as the faithful. When we're restricted in some ways or not permitted, So we're leaving from the red and we're going into the yellow. Thank God. So this weekend we're going into the yellow. Now, normally I told you at St. Mary's Parish here in historic Schweinsville, we have we definitely have 5 masses on the weekend, right? 4 Saturday, 7:30, 9, 10:30, noon. 5 masses. So 3 will be made public. In other words, we'll invite the public in a restricted way. We'll have pews roped up where we're asking you not to sit in. So, your favorite pew, or you're accustomed to go to that pew, sorry. Because I know we're creatures of habit. Believe me, I know that. But don't be upset if your favorite pew is roped off. It's the way that we have to do it, okay? You can find another pew, and it gives you another perspective, right? Sitting in church. So I just don't want you to be upset that your pew might be roped off. So we'll leave some pews open, some pews will be roped off. Some pews will be open, some pews will be roped off. So that's how it's going to look. And the masses that we're making public, which we're inviting people to come to church on the weekend, this coming weekend, and all the weekends after, the 4 o'clock on Saturday afternoon, the anticipated Mass of Sunday. Then on Sunday, there'll be 2, 9 and noon. So it's 4, 9, noon. 4, 9, noon. They will be the public masses that will be open to anyone who wants to worship at Mass with us. And then the other 2 masses, the 7:30 and the 10:30, Father Keen and I will privately celebrate those masses. So all the intentions would be covered. Absolutely, like they're covered now. So the intentions are absolutely covered, which means that we're celebrating the intentions for those people. Like if your mom or your dad or your grandpa or someone that you love very dearly, well, obviously you love them anyway because you had Mass offered for them, right? So all of those intentions are being absolutely fulfilled. But I just want to tell you, when we're going into Mass this weekend, 3 out of the 5 will be open for the public. Come on in. Come on in. Sit down. The ushers will direct you to the pew, okay? And we'll go through that tomorrow, like a little tutorial. I don't want to make this complicated, but it is kind of different. Remember I told you in another reflection, I said we're going to have Mass, but it's going to be a little different. Things that we normally took for granted, now we're going to have people ushering us in, helping us find a seat. and all of those kind of things, okay? So that's this coming weekend. Isn't that wonderful? Are you happy that you're able to get to Mass for those who want to go to Mass? There are some of you that don't really want to go to Mass yet because you have an immunocompromised respiratory problem, or you're immunocompromised to begin with because of whatever you're dealing with. And you're saying, oh, not yet, not yet. Maybe later on when I feel better and when things become more open to the public. Maybe when we go green, the green light, then you'll come back. Or maybe you're still a little nervous. I respect that. And as you know, the Archbishop of Philadelphia said, the obligation to attend Mass is lifted. In other words, you're not held by penalty of mortal sin to attend Mass on Sunday. You know, in other words, the church would never put you in that predicament of like saying, listen, I can't. Well, even normally if you have a problem, not going to church is not a mortal sin. Let's say you're sick. That's never been a mortal sin to miss Mass if you're sick. Or a situation that you tell the confessor at confession time, say, Father, I don't know if this was wrong or a mortal sin. I did this and blah, blah, blah. Well, you can always ask the confessor in confession if you're not sure. Okay? So I just wanted to, give you that kind of update. I'm happy to see you. It's just going to be a little different during this restrictive phase. No offertory procession. No communion under the chalice, only under the form of the sacred host, right? And we won't be offering each other a sign of peace. I might, do you see me at daily Mass? I go like this, the peace of the Lord be with you always. And then I go, non-contact peace. So, but if you're with your family, if you're already, hugging your child, I mean, it's fine with me, but I just need you to respect other people in church that they don't want to do that because they're not your family. See, that's why when you're sitting in a pew, you don't have to follow the 6-foot distance because you're a family. But we have to respect those who are not in your household, right? And we have to leave 6 feet away from them because they're not in your household. So I want to respect this fella or this lady that's coming into my pew. And I want to make sure there's enough room, 6 feet of room for the next person to come in. Because you may have the Bellopede family coming in and we're taking up the pew. We're taking up a half of the pew. There might be only one more room for one more person because of the 6-foot distance, right? Because we don't have to have a 6-foot distance as a family because we're already in our household together. But if it's someone not in my household, I have to respect that distance. Does that make sense to you? So we're going to try our very best to help you with that if you forget. But I think most of you understand it. Most of you go to Wegmans and other stores that have all of these things to help you. And so will we. We'll have markers and things like that. I know it's kind of weird, churches even doing that. But we want to also be very cautious ourselves that we don't want to put you in harm's way. Never. We want to make sure everyone is kept safe, even when they come to publicly worship. And I know you understand that, and I thank you for that. So, can we talk about this unrest that's happening because of the George Floyd incident that happened? Isn't that so sad? I'm sure you've seen the officer that was putting his knee on his neck and really compromised his health in such a way that he died. Now, whether or not that was the actual cause of death or Mr. Floyd had other circumstances, that certainly did not help. In fact, that caused it just to stop life altogether. And it was terrible. It should have never been done. And I'm sure that department is making sure that justice is held, and that officer would have to pay the consequences for that action that he did. Justice must happen, and I'm sure it will. But the reaction of many individuals all over the cities, major cities over the US, and even beyond the US, I was surprised at that. Outside of the US, this was happening as well. I was so saddened to see on the local news and the nightly news all of this unrest, this horrific anger, and I understand people are upset, but to take it out on individual people that had nothing to do with this, like a store owner in Center City, Philadelphia. I didn't do anything. And that owner might say to these people, I'm upset with you as well, but why are you hurting me? Just like I wouldn't hurt the protester. Some people say they're not protesting. Some people say they are really anarchy. That's the anarchies happening in the world. That your anger is so heightened that there's no reason. You're not using your reason of saying, I'm angered about that officer doing that to Mr. Floyd. And I think 99.99999, or maybe I should say 100%, are angry as well. That should never have happened. Why did he do that? Why did he make that choice of putting his knee on his airway? Well, I have no idea why. I don't know what happened before that. I don't know the incident. I only could see what I see on television. But what I do see on television, it makes me question, officer, what are you doing? Why that extreme? But I don't know. But I don't, what I see I don't agree with. But I would never take it out on this store, this store, this store, this store, this building. How about St. John's Church in Washington? The fire in the parish office center. All of the fires going on that people are lighting. When is anger so horrific and wrong when it really inflicts upon the people who have nothing to do with this? Could you imagine if someone came to your home and started destroying your home? You and I would be totally upset. What are you doing to my house? Well, I'm angry with George Floyd's death. So am I. But let's not hurt each other. Let's make sure justice is done and make sure that officer pays the debt of killing that poor innocent man. Now, when I say innocent in the sense that, does he have to die? I don't know what he did, but did he have to die? Wasn't that maybe that was a little extreme. Again, I was not there. I don't know the whole case, but it was, I think, over the top. A neck on your throat, and your knee on his throat. Getting a little bit too emotional here, I'm sorry. I said your neck on your throat. You know what I mean? The knee on the throat. Okay, if you have to wait until you handcuffed him, okay, then take your knee off. But again, I'm speaking here in Schranksville. Was I there? No, I wasn't there. But I still think, like, what's going on? Okay, that's enough. That's enough. Let him go. You have him handcuffed. Let's put him in the wagon. Let's take him to detain him. But the actions of these people, absolutely immoral and wrong, to burn and to destroy and to steal all the merchandise out of these stores, breaking all the windows, spray painting sidewalks, buildings, even the memorial in Washington, even St. Patrick's Cathedral. Yes, all of these things that people are destroying because people are upset about this action that took place. So when is all of this wrong? For me to say, I'm going to act out now. What is this teaching our children? What is this saying to society? That when we're upset and angry, we can then go to you, who is an innocent bystander or an innocent owner of a store or a restaurant or whatever, and start destroying you because I'm angry, so I'm going to just take it out on you. Sad and absolutely wrong. I said at Mass today, when Jesus says, render to Caesar what is Caesar and render to God what is God, there is divine law, natural law that seeps into society. That's where law comes from. Law comes from God. That's how law was created. We all know that. The law of the land was created because of divine law and natural law. And also there's a law written in our hearts that we follow our conscience. We know when things are right and we know when something is wrong. Like we don't have to read about it and we don't have to study law. You don't have to be a lawyer to know the difference between right and wrong. Maybe technical cases, we have to study law. But that is written in our hearts by the Creator. We're made in His image and likeness, and we know the difference between right and wrong. Every single person, whether you're a believer or not, God made you, and He has put into you that DNA of what's called a conscience. You know the difference. I know the difference between right and wrong. And when I see all of those things happening, I feel very bad for society, humanity. I feel bad for young people. I feel bad for some of our own legislators and people who are supposed to serve us, not only in this Commonwealth, but all around the US and the world. What do they need to do? What do we need to do going forward? We have to make sure that just as it was wrong for that officer to cut off the life of that person, again, I have no idea the specifics, but we know from what we see that was wrong. Is it not also wrong for all of those people to act like they're doing now, all around the city, the Commonwealth, the United States and beyond? Is it also wrong for them to do that? Absolutely it is. Absolutely. I've seen people on the highway hitting car windows out. What is that about? Why are we doing that? What is wrong with the human person today that they think that that is right to do? What is happening to us? May I say, as a Catholic priest, the lack of God? Absolutely. The lack of God in people's lives. We have become our own gods. In other words, we will make the decisions. We will make the laws we want to follow. We will do what we want to do. I don't need God or the church to tell me. And that's what's becoming more and more. That's the dominant religion today. It's not Catholicism. It's not Episcopalian. It's not Methodist. It's this religion. The religion of indifference. The religion that says, I will do what I want to do with my body, and I will do what I want to do, and I will make my own decisions, and I really don't care what you or anyone has to say about it. You hear this on the news and you see this. It's sad. It's sad when God is no longer in their life. You can see the darkness. One of my priest friends says, the demonic possession of people. So you don't need to have people with their heads spinning around and spitting up pea soup. From that movie of the 70s, The Exorcist, remember that? For those who did watch that. No, demonic possession happens in many forms. It doesn't mean that your head is spinning around and you're talking with a deep voice. It doesn't mean that. Demonic possession, sadly, and it happens it manifests itself in this display. Do I believe that this is a form of demonic possession? Absolutely. Absolutely it is. It is evil. So there might be an evil that went on. So does evil mean that I handle that evil with another evil? Do I drink the poison because I'm upset and I become enraged? What's the purpose of that? How do we change people's thoughts? Does that change our ideas? Obviously not. So if that officer was enraged, let's say, we can't go into the mind of the officer, right? That's not right to think that because only he has that mind. But if that officer was enraged because of that, well, all these people who are doing all that had drank the poison of that being enraged. And now they have mirrored the evil. Do you see how the evil is spreading? Remember I would preach on sin, and I would say sin is both personal and social. Do you remember those talks I give? Personal and social? Absolutely. So sin is personal, but it has a social dimension to it, whether I do it in private or not. Here, the whole world did not see that until it went on social media and the news, and everyone saw it. And so it just spread. Okay, now everyone saw it. Now, they took that and they became upset and maybe enraged by the behavior of that one particular officer. And I'm sure there might be more. There's always people who are not doing what they're supposed to be doing, even in good professions. We've noticed that in the priesthood. So I want to just put that out. But it's sad because then it looks like the whole group is like that. And that's not the case. That's not the case. But because of that action does not mean that now I'm going to imitate that action by displaying it in what I want to do it in my outrage. So I will destroy, burn, hurt all innocent bystanders. Instead of bringing this to justice, that's how I'm drinking the poison, and that's my answer? Horrible. Horrible. And it should be stopped. On behalf of all of my brother priest and Archbishop Nelson Perez, we're horrified as well with all the people about that. But as you know, that's not the answer to take it out and display evil on other people. There's a holiness in voting. There's a holiness in civil protesting. You know, when you want to protest something, you have a right to do that. But you don't have a right to hurt me when you're doing that. Yes, protest that. Make sure that your voice is heard. And many people do have very civil protests that don't hurt anyone, but they make their voice heard when they're doing it. Render to Caesar what is Caesar's, and render to God what is God. All law comes from God, and therefore the law of the land should mirror the law of God. There is love and justice. There must be a balance, because then if we work for justice, then there will be peace. Didn't Pope St. Paul VI say that? Pope St. Paul VI. I remember when I was in high school and grade school, he was the Holy Father, Paul VI. And he made that statement. We need to work for justice so that peace can always pervade in the land. Because that's what it's all about. Peace for all. Not anger and hatred and bigotry and all of those things that destroy. They don't build up. I pray for the Floyd family, and I'm sure you have as well. And I pray for all people who are experiencing bigotry or their unfairness being treated to them for whatever reason. I'm saddened. We should all treat each other as people of faith, made in God's image and likeness. And if they're not a person of faith, they're still created by God. And we should respect the global human family, because we know as believers that they're created in God's image and likeness, and we should have a respect for them, even if we don't agree. Even if I don't agree with a person, I am called by Christ to love one another as he loves me. And I know that's hard at times. So we all know we're going to disagree with whatever. But we're not supposed to hate. Whatever the issue is. Hate is wrong. Let's just agree that we disagree. And can we live in harmony with one another? By God's grace? Sure. I just wanted to bring that to you today because that's on our minds, especially as we watch the nightly news, and you've been home and you've seen it a lot. And know that I'm so saddened about it. But the reaction to all of this is horrible. Horrible. And that is wrong. You don't stop evil with evil, do you? No. If you want peace, let's work for justice in a civil world as human beings, as mature adults, so that we can get the job done and do what we're called to do. I wish you and your family a very blessed day today. And tomorrow I'll see you probably in church via this afternoon reflection, because I just want to show you maybe what we're going to be doing come this weekend, when there will be 3 masses open to the public for Sunday worship, 4, 9, noon. Have a good day, everybody.